The fact that Andy Murray recently gave Alex an opulent condominium has stunned the tennis community. Nobody expected this. A gift so unexpected and personal that even Yao was speechless. It wasn't a contract for sponsorship. It wasn't a publicity stunt. There was more to it. At this pivotal point in Aya's career, fans were left wondering what was actually happening between these two and why. No one knew they were so close. Andy Murray, the fighter who won 3 Grand Slam titles, recovered from a surgical procedure. His career and the man who redefined what it means to be resilient in tennis, as well as rising Filipino star Alex Eala, who is trying to break into the top 100 with nothing but raw talent and unwavering determination by competing in WTA qualifiers and challenger tournaments. They didn't appear to share many characteristics, different challenges, continents, and generations, but at some point along the way, their paths unexpectedly crossed. It started out as a quiet conversation on a practice court in London during the grass season. No interviews, no cameras. Ayala had been training at the National Tennis Center in an effort to get used to a surface that was different from her typical playing style. Murray was recovering from yet another injury setback while playing on the court next door with his team. He was the first to see her. The way she moved, the fire in her eyes every time she missed a shot, the way she persisted on seemingly insurmountable balls. It might have caused him to reflect on himself, or the version of himself who used to worry about his chances of survival while sleeping in small hotel rooms. They started talking about the tour, how lonely it can be to travel without a solid support system, and what it takes to succeed at the top level without the same resources as others. At first, they had quick conversations and technical guidance regarding footwork on grass. Beyond Isa's court coverage and forehand, Murray noticed something in her that most others overlooked. He witnessed the weight she bore, the pressure of being the first Filipino woman to excel in professional tennis, the expectations of an entire nation, and the financial strain of sustaining her own career while competing against players backed by multi-million-dollar teams. He didn't tell her about the decision he made that day. If he could help, he would do so in a meaningful way, not in some distant, symbolic way. As a result, he continued to communicate with her through text messages following her games. Advice, when she asked for it, and quiet encouragement while the losses increased and the rankings stayed the same. After learning about her living situation, which included moving between Airbnbs, staying with host families, and even sleeping on couches in between competitions, he realized he had to take action. It happened on a Tuesday afternoon in late September. Yala had just lost a devastating 3-set match at a WTA 125 tournament in Spain. She was exhausted, agitated, and unsure if she was improving or if she had been doing the same thing for months. Her coach told her that they needed to travel to London for a quick meeting regarding the logistics of the off-seas training. She didn't think much about it. They arrived at a contemporary apartment building in South Kensington, one of London's wealthiest neighborhoods. Ayala anticipated a sponsor meeting and potential cooperation. She had already made several visits to these corporate offices, offering polite smiles and vague promises of help that never materialized. But when they got to the lobby, all they found was a set of keys and a handwritten note on a marble counter. Suits, executives, and meeting. Rooms are absent. You should have a home base for Alex. Andy, keep fighting. She stared at the message for a long time, after reading it 3 times before turning to her teacher in perplexity. Is this true? Her coach nodded. It's yours. He bought it for you. The apartment was on the 4th floor. There are 2 bedrooms, a fully equipped kitchen, a living room with plenty of space for recovery equipment, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a tranquil tree-lined street, and a second bedroom that could be used for training or meditation. It wasn't just luxury, it was thoughtfulness. Every component appears to be designed with athletes in mind. The blackout curtains for post-match rest, the incredibly firm mattress, and the serene location away from the hustle and bustle of downtown London. Ayala moved through the rooms in silence. She held back her tears. She didn't scream. She stood there, unable to process what had just happened, her hands trembling. After that, she would only post 1 photo to Instagram. Only the windows. View. There is no caption. The window is flooded with golden hour light. Within an hour, fans saw the location tag. In less than 2 hours, the story went viral. Andy Murray recently gave Alex Eala a house. The internet went crazy as a result. Some said it was the most charitable act they had ever witnessed in tennis. Some questioned the motivation. Was this mentoring, philanthropy, or something else entirely? The gossip became uncontrollable. Consider the compositions. Every facet was investigated. Tennis Twitter has become a battlefield for opposing opinions and podcasts. But amid all the chaos, there was one question. To understand why Andy Murray did this, you have to go back to 2005. He was out of the top 100 at the age of 19, traveling alone to ATP competitions with a duffel bag and an unfulfilled ambition. His mother, Judy, had sacrificed everything to get him there. Murray was not always certain of his sleeping arrangements. But even with her assistance, hotel rooms were expensive. He couldn't afford a physiotherapist, so he didn't have the funds to pay for training facilities. He would eat the cheapest food he could find, skip recovery sessions, and lie awake wondering if he would ever get better. He recognized the same look in Alex Eala's eyes and remembered the sense of exhaustion, loneliness, and the fear that one bad month could destroy everything. She was not experiencing the same problems. Her family tried their best to assist her. Despite the Philippine Tennis Association's best efforts, players outside of the top 50 face harsh treatment on the WTA circuit. Prize money rarely covers expenses. Sponsorships are rare unless you are already well known. For someone like Ya, who was trying to support her own career while carrying the aspirations of an entire country, the burden was also oppressive. Murray had been watching her results for months. The devastating qualifying experiences, the setbacks in the first round, the flashes of brilliance followed by devastating defeats. He knew how that loop damaged a young player's confidence and made them question their place in the world. But he also knew something else, that you were gifted enough to be successful, that she wasn't far away, that she didn't require another generic sponsorship or an inspirational speech. She needed something concrete that would eliminate one source of anxiety so she could focus entirely on her game. Instead of using a loan or investment, he bought the condo as an unconditional gift. He doesn't want any media attention. He had no desire to claim credit. His only desire was to give a young athlete the stability he wished he had known when she was younger. After Ya moved in, he sent her a private message saying, "I'm not doing this because I think you need saving. I'm doing this because I know you're going to make it. And when you do, you'll remember this moment. And maybe you'll do the same for someone else." Although the message was never made public, those close to Ya claimed that it completely changed her life because she felt like she could breathe for the first time in years. It was an instantaneous and divisive response. Fans were in amazement on one side. They referred to it as the most exquisite example of mentoring in contemporary tennis. Legends like Billie Jean King, who dedicated decades to inspiring the next generation, were likened to Murray. They said that more of this was required in the sport. Well-known celebrities provide their resources to others who are still rising. This is the appearance of a true champion. On the other hand, suspicion simmered. One widely shared tweet said, "Andy Murray just became my favorite player forever." The optics were questioned by some. A young girl player receives a luxurious apartment from a man champion. Conspiracy theories quickly gained traction at a time when people were acutely aware of power relationships and hidden agendas. Did this connection include more than just mentoring? Was Murray attempting to exert control over her career? Was this a subtle kind of grooming? Debate erupted on tennis forums. Discussions on Reddit descended into anarchy. Every public exchange between Murray and Eala was examined by TikTok producers in an attempt to uncover hidden messages. Even reputable journalists expressed their opinions. Murray's kindness was commended by several. Some questioned if this kind of paternalism was really progressive and why a male player felt the need to help a female player. Others responded to Patrick McEnroe's commentary during a broadcast stating, "Look, Andy's heart is in the right place, but I do wonder if this sets a precedent. Are we implying that young athletes need a sponsor to succeed? We don't want to convey that message." However, supporters in the Philippines made the most forceful remarks. They had nothing to do with power dynamics or optics when Martina Natalova said, "People will criticize anything. Andy saw someone who needed help and helped. That's it. Stop looking for problems where there aren't any." This had to do with respect and acknowledgement, observing the button that represents their country. Three-time Grand Slam champion Gar trusted her enough to invest in her. Words are not as important as action. Eala received support from tennis communities across the Philippines. Hashtags were popular for days. Murray and Ayala's murals appeared in Manila. t-shirts were printed by them. For a nation where no player had ever placed in the top 100, this gesture was noteworthy. But in the middle of all the noise, one voice had remained silent. Eala Alex. 3 weeks after the news was made public, I have yet to speak. The video, which showed her sitting in the apartment Murray had given her and speaking from the heart in a private one-on-one interview with a reliable Filipino journalist, instead of at a press conference or in a carefully thought-out Instagram post, was subtly uploaded on YouTube. At first, I was unsure of how to respond. In a serene yet moving voice, she continued, I thought it was a joke or a mistake because things like this don't happen to people like me. I've been on tour for years now, and every day is a battle, not just on the court, but off it. Finding places to stay, managing costs, worrying if one injury will end everything because I can't afford to take time off. That weight, it's always there. I assumed that was just a part of the experience that everyone has. She was staring straight at the camera, but Andy showed me that wasn't necessary, that everything can change if someone has faith in you. They are telling you that you are important and that your dream is worthwhile, not because they are solving all of your problems. The interviewer inquired as to whether the gift had put her under pressure to succeed. Eala grinned, a genuine smile, not the courteous one she displayed during interviews after games. She said, I feel the opposite. I feel like I can fail without losing everything for the first time. I have a place to return to, where I can train, heal, and contemplate that freedom. That's what will improve me. It's not the apartment per se, but what it stands for. She was questioned about the criticism, the individuals who doubted Murray's intentions, and the discussions surrounding power relations. Her face became a little sterner. I know Andy's heart, but people will always find something to be critical of. I am aware of his experiences, and I am aware that this had nothing to do with publicity or control. It was about one person lending a hand to another. That's all, and it is their problem, not mine, if people are unable to see that. She made a commitment before the interview ended. I'm going to do this for someone else once I'm where I want to be. Because I received more than just an apartment from Andy. He provided me with a recipe for giving back. It wasn't the drama that made the video go viral, but rather its genuineness. Additionally, people began to listen instead of argue for the first time since the story broke. An apartment isn't really the subject of this story. It has to do with something that isn't discussed enough in the tennis community. The invisible burden that crushes young players before they have a chance to establish themselves is the disparity between talent and opportunity. One of the fortunate ones is Alexia. Not because she's the most gifted, it wasn't because she put in the most effort, but rather because someone with resources noticed her hardships and decided to take action. However, what about the hundreds of other players who are currently competing in Challenger and ITF events? Those residing in low-cost motels, those who forego meals in order to pay for admission, those whose careers will end because they ran out of money before they had talent. Murray's gesture revealed a reality that the tennis establishment would prefer to overlook, that there is a problem with the system, that your chances of succeeding are virtually non-existent unless you are wealthy or are found early by a prominent university. While some players publicly praised Murray, others remained silent, possibly wondering why they weren't given the same treatment. Sloane Stevens wrote, "This is beautiful, but it also makes me think about all the players who needed this and never got it." Along with the description, mentorship matters. And Jabor shared the story, "We have to do better as a sport. Representation is important. Giving back matters." But not everyone was celebrating. Some former players questioned whether this kind of individual charity was sustainable, whether the solution was more Andy Murray's or systemic change that ensured no young player had to rely on a benefactor to survive. We shouldn't need billionaires and champions to rescue talented kids. One retired player said in a podcast, "The tours make billions. Where's the money going? Why isn't there a fund for athletes rated between 100 and 300 who are just one injury away from going bankrupt?" It's a fair question that the WTA and ATP have avoided for years, but in the interim, Andy Murray did what he could. He gave Alex Eala an apartment because he remembered what it was like to be young, talented, and alone. He did it because he believes in a tennis world where talent isn't wasted because of money. And maybe just maybe, this is the start of a change in how the sport handles its rising stars.